Stop scrolling. What I'm about to tell you will change the way you see women who sleep alone. This isn't loneliness, it's power, strength, and self-respect. Watch till the end and your perspective will never be the same. Let's be real, people love to judge a woman who sleeps alone with no husband. They whisper, they assume, they try to label her like they know her story. But what they don't see is her strength. Sleeping alone doesn't mean she's lonely. It means she has standards, she has peace, and she values herself enough not to settle for less than she deserves. Sleeping alone is not loneliness, it's self-respect. In a world that constantly tells women they need someone beside them to feel complete, choosing to rest in your own space, in your own energy, is a quiet but powerful rebellion. It's not about emptiness, it's about clarity. It's about understanding that your peace is too valuable to be traded for temporary comfort or inconsistent love. A woman who sleeps alone has made a decision, one that many are too afraid to make. She has looked at relationships that drain her, situations that confuse her, and people who only show up halfway, and she has said, no more. That kind of decision doesn't come from weakness. It comes from deep self-awareness and courage. She chooses peace over toxic relationships and refuses to settle, even when it would be easier to just accept less. Because let's be honest, settling is comfortable at first. It fills the silence, it gives the illusion of companionship, and it keeps the world from asking questions. But she understands something deeper. She knows that being with the wrong person can feel far lonelier than being by yourself. She has experienced the emotional distance, the lack of respect, the inconsistency that keeps you guessing your worth. And instead of normalizing that pain, she walked away from it. She chose nights of solitude over days of emotional chaos. She chose healing over pretending. She chose herself. There is strength in that kind of solitude. In those quiet nights, she learns who she really is without anyone else's influence. She reconnects with her thoughts, her dreams, and her values. She builds a relationship with herself that no one can break. And that's the part people don't talk about, the growth that happens when no one is watching, the confidence that forms when you realize you can stand on your own and still feel whole. She is not waiting for someone to come complete her because she has already done the work within. So when she lays her head down at night, alone, there is no shame in it. There is no fear. There is only peace because she knows she didn't abandon herself just to avoid being alone. She honored her worth, even when it meant walking away from what was familiar. And that is something not everyone has the strength to do. Standards over desperation is not just a phrase, it's a mindset, a boundary, and a quiet declaration of self-worth. A woman who lives by this principle understands that love should never come at the cost of her dignity. She knows that attention is not the same as respect, and just because someone is present doesn't mean they are truly there for her. So instead of chasing validation or holding on to someone who gives her the bare minimum, she chooses to stand firm in what she deserves. She would rather sit alone in her own peace than share her life with someone who makes her question her value. That choice may look difficult from the outside, but for her it's necessary. Desperation makes people accept things they would normally reject. It makes them ignore red flags, justify bad behavior, and shrink themselves just to keep someone around. But she has learned that keeping the wrong person costs far more than letting them go. It costs her confidence, her emotional stability, and her sense of identity. She refuses to pay that price. She has seen what happens when standards are lowered just to avoid loneliness, and she has promised herself she will never return to that place, because she understands that the moment you accept less than you deserve, you teach others how to treat you. So she raises her standards not to push people away, but to protect her peace. She expects honesty, consistency, effort, and respect, not because she is demanding, but because she knows her worth. And if someone cannot meet her at that level, she doesn't beg, chase, or try to convince them. She walks away with grace, knowing that the right person will never require her to compromise her values. That kind of discipline is rare because it requires patience. It means waiting, sometimes longer than expected, for something real instead of settling for something convenient. And yes, there are moments when it feels lonely. There are nights when she wonders if it would be easier to just accept what's available. But she reminds herself that temporary comfort is not worth long-term pain. She reminds herself that she is not missing out, she is filtering out. Every person she walks away from brings her closer to someone who truly aligns with her. More importantly, it keeps her aligned with herself. She would rather be alone than be with someone who doesn't value her, because she has already experienced what it feels like to be overlooked, unappreciated, and taken for granted. And she knows she deserves better than that. So she waits, not out of desperation, but with quiet confidence, knowing that what is meant for her will meet her at the level she refuses to lower. Silence builds strength in ways that noise never can. In a world filled with constant distractions, opinions, and expectations, choosing to sit in your own quiet space can feel uncomfortable at first. But for a woman who embraces it, that silence becomes her teacher, her mirror, and her foundation. Time alone is where she begins to hear her own voice clearly, without interference. It's where she separates who she truly is from who the world tried to make her. Instead of running from the quiet, she leans into it, understanding that within that stillness lies the power to rebuild, to reflect, and to rise stronger than before. Time alone helps her grow because it forces her to face herself honestly. There's no one to distract her from her thoughts, no one to fill the gaps with temporary comfort. In that space, she confronts her fears, her past mistakes, and her insecurities. But instead of breaking her, it shapes her. She begins to understand her patterns, recognize what she deserves, and let go of what no longer serves her. Growth doesn't always look loud or exciting. It often looks like quiet nights, deep and slow healing. And she accepts that process, knowing that real transformation takes time. As she spends more time with herself, she starts to discover who she is at her core. Not the version shaped by relationships, expectations, or validation from others, but the real, unfiltered version. She reconnects with her passions, her dreams, and her values. She learns what makes her happy without needing anyone else to provide it. That self-discovery is powerful, because once a woman truly knows herself, she becomes unshakable. She no longer bends just to fit into someone else's life, because she has already built a life within herself. Confidence grows naturally from this place of self-awareness. It's no longer dependent on compliments, attention, or approval. It comes from knowing that she can stand alone and still feel complete. She trusts her decisions, she sets firm boundaries, and she walks away from anything that disturbs her peace without hesitation. That confidence is quiet but undeniable. It's not about proving anything to anyone. It's about being secure in who she is even when no one is watching. So when she sits in silence, she's not empty, she's evolving. She's building a strength that doesn't need validation, a confidence that doesn't fade, and a peace that no one can take from her. And that is the kind of power that only solitude can create. Independence creates power in a way that is both quiet and undeniable. A woman who understands her own worth knows that she does not need a man to complete her life. She doesn't rely on someone else to provide her happiness, security, or identity, because she has already cultivated all of that within herself. Her independence is not a shield to keep people away. It's a declaration of self-respect. It shows that she values herself enough not to settle for less than she deserves. She walks through life with a sense of assurance, knowing that her strength comes from her own choices and her own efforts, not from anyone else's approval. She doesn't need a man, but she chooses one only if he adds value to her life. That doesn't mean she's being picky out of fear or arrogance. It means she has standards rooted in clarity. She knows what she brings to the table, and she refuses to allow someone to diminish it. When a man enters her life, he must enhance her world, not complicate it. He must respect her independence, honor her boundaries, and support her growth. If he cannot meet her on that level, she is perfectly willing to continue on her own path, because she understands that the right person will never make her feel incomplete. He will complement her already full life. Her independence gives her a type of power that is magnetic. People are naturally drawn to confidence, to someone who knows their worth and isn't afraid to protect it. She does not cling, beg, or compromise to keep a relationship alive. Instead, she attracts those who appreciate her for who she truly is. This power comes not from control over others, but from control over herself, her choices, her emotions, and her future. She is in command of her life, and that command makes her presence impactful, respected, and irresistible. Independence also means she has the freedom to grow without limitations. She can pursue her goals, explore her passions, and follow her dreams without waiting for someone else's permission or approval. She creates her own opportunities and celebrates her own successes. When she does choose to share her life with someone, it is because she is confident in what she already has, not because she feels she lacks anything. That mindset changes the dynamic of every relationship she enters. She gives love freely, but never out of necessity. She shares her life with someone who enhances it, not fills it. Wholeness comes from within, and a woman who understands this lives differently from anyone who seeks validation from the outside. She knows that her value is not defined by a partner, by approval from others, or by the standards society tries to impose on her. She understands that happiness, confidence, and self-respect are cultivated from within herself and not borrowed from someone else. Because of this, she moves through life with a sense of peace and certainty that cannot be shaken by rejection, criticism, or loneliness. Her worth is innate, unchangeable, and fully realized, and she carries that truth in everything she does. She is already complete, which means she does not need someone else to fill her life or complete her identity. She has spent time understanding herself, her dreams, her goals, her passions, and her values. She has worked on her strengths, faced her weaknesses, and grown through her experiences. Because of this, she can stand alone with confidence, knowing that she is enough exactly as she is. She does not measure herself by who shows up in her life, because she knows that her presence in the world is valuable and that the right people will come to her naturally, drawn not by need, but by respect and genuine connection. Not relying on anyone to define her worth gives her a freedom that is rare and powerful. She does not compromise her values, her boundaries, or her dreams to fit someone else's expectations. She does not endure disrespect for the sake of companionship, nor does she settle for attention that lacks sincerity. Instead, she chooses relationships, friendships, and partnerships that enhance her life rather than define it. When she loves, it is out of abundance, not necessity. She shares her heart freely because she is full, not because she is empty. This self-sufficiency allows her to give love, support, and energy without losing herself in the process. Her wholeness also means she can navigate life's challenges with resilience and grace. She does not crumble when faced with heartbreak, disappointment, or betrayal because she knows that her foundation is internal, not external. She has developed an inner strength that protects her from being swayed by opinions, rejection, or societal pressures. She moves through the world anchored in self-awareness, and that anchoring allows her to make decisions based on clarity rather than fear or desperation. Her completeness becomes a beacon, attracting people and opportunities that align with her energy and pushing away those that do not. Ultimately, a woman who understands that wholeness comes from within lives unapologetically. She does not seek permission to exist, and she does not allow anyone to define her boundaries or her value. She is a whole person, independent, strong, and confident, and she radiates a power that cannot be given or taken. It is inherent. She teaches everyone around her a quiet, undeniable lesson. That true fulfillment is found within, and only when you are complete in yourself can you truly thrive in life and love. In conclusion, a woman who sleeps alone with no husband is far from incomplete. She is a testament to strength, wisdom, and self-respect. She chooses peace over chaos, standards over desperation, and silence over distraction, knowing that time alone builds her confidence and deepens her understanding of herself. Her independence is her power, and her wholeness comes from within, not from anyone else's approval or presence. She does not chase, cling, or compromise her value for temporary comfort. Instead, she stands tall, complete and unshakable, attracting only what aligns with her worth. Let us honor and respect women like this, because they are living proof that true strength, fulfillment, and power are cultivated from within, and that a life fully lived does not require anyone else to define it.